Have you ever felt like you were on the verge of transcending everything? Like the world as you know it, the chaos, the noise, the endless cycle of suffering was simply fading away, and you were stepping into something pure, something otherworldly? That's the pull of the fifth dimension. It's a space of unconditional love, unity, and light where duality dissolves, and you feel completely at peace. I know because I've been there, and I've stayed there longer than I should have. And I'll tell you this, what starts as bliss can lead to stagnation, and even suffering, if we remain there too long. You see, the fifth dimension is often perceived as the ultimate spiritual goal, the place where we become. And it is. But here's the catch. It's not meant to be a permanent home. It's meant to be a bridge, a moment of alignment, a glimpse into what's possible. But when we try to make it our final destination, something strange happens. We disconnect from the very purpose of our existence here in the 3D. Let me ask you this: if you had the power to exist in a state of eternal bliss, to leave all your challenges behind, would you? Most people would say yes. But here's the deeper question: what happens when the very lessons that brought you to that bliss begin to fade away? What happens when you lose the contrast of life, the grit, the moments of struggle that make you human? The fifth dimension is seductive because it feels like home. It feels like returning to the purest essence of who we are. And in a sense it is. But staying there too long creates a dangerous illusion. The illusion that we no longer need to engage with the physical world, that we've outgrown it, that we're somehow above it. And that's the first trap of the fifth dimension spiritual escapism. When I first entered the fifth dimension, it was as if my heart had been cracked open. I could feel the interconnectedness of everything, the people around me, the earth beneath me, the stars above me. Everything was alive, vibrating in harmony. And for a while I thought, this is it. I've made it. I'm free, but what I didn't realize at the time was that this freedom came at a cost.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
You see, the fifth dimension can lull you into a state of complacency. You stop engaging with the world because you think you've transcended it. You stop addressing the very real challenges of your human experience because they feel so small, so distant. And while you're floating in this space of ethereal light and love, the world continues to turn. Your relationships continue to evolve. Your purpose continues to call you. Here's the paradox: the more time you spend in the fifth dimension, the harder it becomes to re-enter the third. You begin to feel like a stranger in your own life. You may even start to resent the very aspects of your humanity that tether you to this world: your body, your emotions, your responsibilities. And that resentment creates a new form of suffering, one that's subtle but deeply corrosive. Ask yourself this: what is the point of enlightenment if it disconnects you from the world you came here to serve? What I've come to realize is that the fifth dimension is not a destination. It's a tool. It's a space of recalibration, a place where we can remember who we truly are. But we are not meant to stay there indefinitely. Because the truth is, our greatest growth happens here, in the third dimension. It happens in the messiness of life, in the moments that challenge us to rise above our ego and embody the divine. When we overstay in the fifth dimension, we risk losing our grounding. We risk becoming so detached from the physical world that we forget why we came here in the first place. And this brings me to the second trap of the fifth dimension: spiritual arrogance. The longer we stay in this state of higher consciousness, the more we begin to see others as less evolved. We might not say it out loud, but we start to think it. We look at the struggles of others and think, if only they could see what I see. If only they could rise to my level. But this mindset is a trap, because it creates separation, the very thing the fifth dimension is supposed to dissolve. True wisdom is not about escaping the third dimension, it's about mastering it. It's about bringing the light of the fifth dimension into the physical world and using it to create something tangible, something real. So how do we find balance? How do we use the fifth dimension as a tool without losing ourselves in it? It starts with intention. When you enter the fifth dimension, do so with a purpose. Ask yourself, what am I here to learn? What am I here to remember? And most importantly, how can I bring this energy back into my daily life? Remember that the fifth dimension is not an escape. It's a reminder of the love and unity that exists beneath the surface of our human experience. But that love and unity mean nothing if we don't bring them into the world. The next time you meditate, the next time you feel yourself reaching for the higher realms, I want you to ask yourself a question: am I using this experience to grow, or am I using it to avoid? When we think of the fifth dimension, we imagine a space of infinite love, unity, and expansion. And it is. But what most people don't realize, what I didn't realize for a long time, is that even bliss can become a trap. It can become a cage disguised as freedom. And when we stay too long in the fifth dimension, we risk something far greater than discomfort or disconnection. We risk stagnating our soul's purpose. Let's dive deeper into this. Why are we here? Why did you choose this life, this body, this moment in time? Because make no mistake, you chose it. Your soul, in its infinite wisdom, knew that this incarnation, this messy, imperfect, beautiful human existence was the perfect environment for your growth. But here's the thing: growth doesn't happen in comfort. Growth doesn't happen when everything is easy, when everything is light and love. Growth happens in the fire. It happens when we face challenges that push us to evolve, to expand, to embody more of our true essence. And yet, the fifth dimension tempts us to bypass all of that. It whispers, come stay here. You don't need to struggle anymore. You don't need to feel pain anymore. You transcended all of that, but have you really? Or are you just avoiding the very lessons your soul came here to learn? Let me ask you something. What does bliss mean to you? Is it the absence of pain? The absence of struggle? Or is it the presence of something deeper, something more profound? True bliss is not about escaping the human experience. It's about embracing it. It's about finding the divine in the mundane, the sacred in the ordinary. It's about realizing that every moment, every challenge, every heartbreak, every triumph is an opportunity to remember who you truly are. When we overstay in the fifth dimension, we lose sight of this. We become so enamored with the light that we forget the value of the shadow. And this is the shadow of bliss. It can lull us into a state of spiritual stagnation. Here's what I mean. The fifth dimension is a realm of infinite potential. When you're there, you feel like anything is possible. But possibility is not the same as creation. You can spend an eternity in the fifth dimension dreaming about what you could create, what you could do, who you could become, but unless you bring that energy back into the third dimension, it remains just that, a dream. Creation happens here, in the physical world. This is where the magic is. This is where your soul's purpose unfolds. And yet, the longer you stay in the fifth dimension, the more disconnected you become from this truth. You start to feel like the physical world is beneath you, like it's too dense, too chaotic, too limiting. But what if I told you that the very limitations you resist are the keys to your expansion? Think about it. What is a seed without the soil? What is a flame without the friction that ignites it? The fifth dimension is the spark, but the third dimension is the ground where that spark becomes a fire. When we stay too long in the fifth dimension, we lose our grounding. We start to feel like we don't belong here, like we're out of place in the physical world. And this creates a dangerous cycle. The more disconnected we feel, the more we retreat into the fifth dimension. And the more we retreat, the harder it becomes to re-engage with the third dimension. This is why so many spiritual seekers struggle with feelings of isolation, depression, and even despair. They've touched the light, but they've forgotten how to bring it back with them. They've become addicted to the bliss of the fifth dimension, and in doing so, they've abandoned their purpose here in the third. Let me ask you this: if you could choose between eternal bliss and meaningful growth, which would you choose? It's not an easy question, is it? Because on the surface, bliss seems like the obvious choice. But when you go deeper, when you really sit with it, you realize that growth is what gives life its meaning. Growth is what makes bliss possible. Without the contrast of pain, how would you know joy? Without darkness, how would you recognize the light? The fifth dimension is like a mirror. It reflects back to you your highest potential, your truest essence. But it's not the destination, it's the map. It shows you what's possible, but it's up to you to bring that possibility into reality. And this is where the real work begins. The longer we stay in the fifth dimension, the more we risk falling into what I call energetic entitlement. This is the belief that because we've accessed higher states of consciousness, we no longer need to engage with the struggles of the human experience. We start to think, I've done the work. I've risen above all of this, but have you really? Or are you just avoiding the next layer of your growth? True mastery is not about escaping the third dimension. It's about integrating the lessons of the fifth dimension into your daily life. It's about using the insights you've gained to create real, tangible change, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. So, how do we avoid the shadow of bliss? How do we use the fifth dimension as a tool for growth without losing ourselves in it? First, we need to cultivate awareness. The next time you feel yourself drifting into the fifth dimension, ask yourself, why am I here? What am I seeking? And most importantly, am I using this experience to grow, or am I using it to escape? Second, we need to stay grounded. This means reconnecting with the physical world, even when it feels heavy or dense. Go for a walk in nature. Spend time with loved ones. Engage in activities that bring you joy. Remember that the third dimension is not something to transcend, it's something to embrace. Finally, we need to take action. The insights you gain in the fifth dimension are meaningless unless you do something with them. Ask yourself, how can I use this energy to serve others? How can I bring more love, more light, more unity into the world? The fifth dimension is a gift, but it's not the end game. It's a stepping stone, a reminder of what's possible. But the real magic happens here, in the third dimension, where you have the power to turn possibility into reality. So I'll leave you with this question: what are you avoiding by staying in the fifth dimension? And what would happen if you brought that light back into the third? What does it mean to truly return to your humanity? To come back to the world after experiencing the expansiveness, the bliss, and the weightlessness of the fifth dimension? This is one of the most profound challenges of the spiritual path, integrating the divine with the human, the infinite with the finite. And yet, this integration is the very reason we are here. When you've spent time in the fifth dimension, everything in the third dimension can feel small, heavy, tedious. You may start to wonder why you should even bother with things like paying bills, mending relationships, or dealing with the day-to-day struggles of life. After all, if you've touched infinite love and unity, why immerse yourself in the chaos of duality again? But here's the truth: the purpose of the fifth dimension is not to escape the third. The purpose is to transform the third. Think of the fifth dimension as a higher vantage point. When you're there, you can see the bigger picture. You can see how everything is interconnected, how every challenge, every moment of pain, every seemingly random event is part of a greater tapestry. But the tapestry itself, the weaving, the threads, that's here in the third dimension. You can't weave the threads from above. You have to come back down and work with the material of life. Returning to your humanity doesn't mean forgetting the fifth dimension. It doesn't mean giving up the feelings of love, unity, and peace that you've experienced. It means carrying those feelings with you and applying them to your life. It means allowing the insights and energy of the fifth dimension to guide your actions, your relationships, and your purpose. But this is easier said than done, isn't it? Because the moment you step back into the third dimension, you're faced with all the things you thought you'd left behind: fear, doubt, pain, and conflict. And the temptation is always there to retreat, to go back to the fifth dimension and stay there. But ask yourself this: what are you avoiding by doing so? What are you afraid to face? The truth is, the third dimension is not as separate from the fifth as we like to think. The fifth dimension is not some distant realm, it's a frequency. It's a state of being that exists within you, here and now. You don't need to leave the third dimension to access it. You simply need to align with it. But alignment requires balance. And this is where many spiritual seekers struggle. It's easy to swing too far in one direction, either becoming so immersed in the third dimension that you forget your spiritual essence, or becoming so lost in the fifth dimension that you lose touch with your humanity. The real challenge is walking the middle path. So how do we find this balance? How do we integrate the wisdom of the fifth dimension with the realities of the third? The first step is to embrace your humanity. I mean, really embrace it. Your body, your emotions, your imperfections, they are not obstacles to your spiritual growth. They are the vehicles for it. Your body is not just a shell, it's a sacred vessel. Your emotions are not burdens, they are messengers. Your imperfections are not flaws, they are opportunities for growth. One of the most powerful ways to ground yourself in your humanity is through your body. When was the last time you really felt your body? When you were fully present with it, without judgment or resistance. Your body is always in the present moment. It doesn't dwell on the past or worry about the future. It breathes, it beats, it moves always in the here and now. Try this the next time you feel disconnected or overwhelmed. Place your hand on your heart. Feel the rhythm of your heartbeat. Take a deep breath and feel the expansion of your lungs. Remember that your body is alive, and that aliveness is sacred. The second step is to honor your emotions. All of them, even the ones you'd rather avoid. We often think of emotions like fear, anger, or sadness as low vibrational, but what if I told you that these emotions are just as important as joy, love, and peace? What if I told you that they are not obstacles to your spiritual growth, but gateways to it? When you feel fear, don't push it away. Sit with it. Ask it what it's trying to tell you. When you feel anger, don't suppress it. Use it as fuel for change. When you feel sadness, don't numb it. Allow it to soften you, to open your heart. Here's a question to ponder: what would happen if you stopped labeling your emotions as good or bad and simply allowed them to be? The third step is to take action. The insights you gain in the fifth dimension are meaningless unless you bring them into the world. This is how you create balance, by taking what you've learned and using it to make a difference. Ask yourself, how can I be of service? How can I bring more love, more light, more unity into the world? This doesn't have to mean starting a nonprofit or writing a book, though it could. It can be as simple as showing kindness to a stranger, listening deeply to a friend, or creating something beautiful. Remember, the fifth dimension is not separate from the third. Every time you act from a place of love, you are anchoring the energy of the fifth dimension into the third. Every time you choose compassion over judgment, forgiveness over resentment, presence over distraction, you are raising the vibration of the physical world. And this brings us to the most profound truth of all: you are the bridge. You are the connection between the third and fifth dimensions. You are the one who can bring the light of higher consciousness into the density of the physical world. You are the one who can transform challenges into opportunities, pain into wisdom, and duality into unity. But to do this, you must be willing to return to your humanity. You must be willing to face the messiness of life, to embrace the grit and the beauty of the human experience, because this is where your soul's purpose unfolds. This is where the real magic happens. So I'll leave you with one final question: what would your life look like if you fully embraced your humanity while carrying the light of the fifth dimension within you? The answer to that question is not just your path, it's your gift to the world. Thank you for staying with me on this journey. Let this message be a reminder that you are both divine and human, infinite and finite, and that your purpose is not to escape one for the other, but to bring them together in harmony. Now go out into the world and shine.